Everybody, and welcome to Live at 5 on LinkedIn Live and also on the Revitalise Networking YouTube channel. Now, every single week, I get the great opportunity to be interviewing many business connections, not just locally, but globally, with the business-focused podcast, live podcast of Revitalise Meets. And this week, I've got the great pleasure to be welcoming along a gentleman who's been helping many people in business, in finance, in investments, and is also a multi-award winning finance company. Can you please welcome with me today, the one and only Mr. Razvan Syyed of the award-winning Syyed Finance and Investments. Razvan, how are you today?
I'm feeling good, Lee, especially obviously having the opportunity to sit with you and chat through the business journey so far. I'm really very grateful to be able to come online with you.
It's an absolute pleasure, Razvan. We've known each other for quite a while now, and you've had a real exciting journey over the past few years. You've been helping many people out. I've met many of them at many of the events and summits that we've run as well. And, I've just seen the work that you've been doing with many people from wind farms to ecological areas and things like that as well. A wild variety of many different industries. But as always, we like to start off at the beginning. Would you mind giving everybody who is watching live this afternoon with a cup of coffee or a cuppa in their hands, a bit of a wide brushstroke of your business journey so far, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course, Lee. For those who've never had the opportunity to find out about what I do, I originally launched my business, Syyed Finance, in July 2018, later rebranding as Syyed Finance and Investments in January 2019. My core niche, Lee, is operating as a finance business partner, which involves partnering with SME business owners and property professionals across the UK by providing a one-stop solution for all their finance, tax, digital accounting, and business development needs. I have the help of a great team to deliver my finance propositions, which my clients provide me with, so I can focus on executive consultant when it comes to delivering business development and financial management.
I mean, it's been an interesting fact. I mean, when you started that journey, what made you get involved? You must have had some interest in the beginning, Razvan, in finance. Did you have that finance background as well in that?
You hit the nail on the head, Lee. I mean, coming from a corporate finance background, as I did for 25 years, working with corporates in Glasgow and London, that gave me the headspace to sort of work in my own right by focusing my own company as an entrepreneur and to start taking the ideas and some of the value that I built up with the other companies that I'd worked with and start to try to translate that into helping the smaller businesses and those sort of different sectors, different businesses that have had challenges. And I found it very difficult to access funding or any kind of business development support or combined. And I thought this was the time to leave the corporate world and do something for myself which adds value to my company, but also provides a win-win scenario for my clients so that they would continue to work with me further to grow my company. And that was the thinking, Lee, behind evolving and trying to sort of establish my business from scratch, which has been kind of built up through the quality of the mentoring that you've given me in terms of finding all about networking and what that does to enhance your business. Otherwise, I would never have known how to build my business up properly without receiving proper training and support through knowing you, through knowing other business people that I've discovered in my business journey. They've all been a massive help.
Thanks, Razvan. One of the questions, and thank you so much. You're such a smooth operator, so thank you for that. But in regards to the likes of your business-wise, did you go straight into working for yourself straight away, or did it take maybe 2 to 3 months just to get the right routine in place? Did it take time to adapt it for you?
That's a great question. I would say, Lee, I was sort of dived straight into my own business. I didn't hesitate. I got some commercial finance training because when my niche was Syyed Finance, I felt that after 6 months, my message was one-dimensional. And I was coming in with no experience of networking, no experience of how to talk as a business owner in my own right. And I was sitting in the London office behind me with different departmental managers, working with company directors, just focusing on how I'm going to add value and what I'm going to do in my position, which at a high level requires you to deliver consistent results in order to feel that you're making a difference to that particular operation, whatever the business. But when you're a business owner in your own right, working as a solopreneur or working with other partners in your business, strategic partners, when I started my own, it was very much a focus on what can I do for people to appeal to my services and know that they want help from me, which was not easy at the beginning because I was just providing commercial finance, nothing else. And I realized in a light bulb moment on New Year's Day in January 2019, when I was sitting with my wife, reflecting on my business, which was very little, I have to say. And I thought to myself, I'm not telling people everything that I know. And I'm not sharing all my experience and all the kind of wealth of knowledge that I've gained to benefit them really constructively. And that's why I decided to evolve, change my social media, change my message, change my approach to networking and how to apply myself better. When I come across to people, to believe in what I'm offering is something which is game changing and will make a difference once we've gone through a set plan and focused on their goals and focused on how we're going to do it together. We're working closer collaboration. And once people understood me through repetitive and consistent messages and attending the right sort of networking, Lee, I have to say, because it was hit and miss at the beginning. A lot of it was just bypassing people. And a lot of it was also, I'd love to have a sit down with you. Maybe we can find out how we can work together. That was very much a trial and error basis when I began. 2019 was a transformational year for my business. Certainly 2019 going into 2020, I started to see success. And I think the success came from getting an introduction to some very important clients who put their faith in me. And once I was able to deliver some consistent results at a high level that transformed their business, that then raised the profile of my business so that I could go on to bigger and better and then start to implement a lot of new other offerings, which I had gained from years of experience, but also used through my mentoring and other things that I've been gaining help with to ensure I could implement that to provide a service and support to other clients. And that has been, shall we say, the biggest change that I have made from day one to what over 5 years later.
Brilliant. It's absolutely superb the way you've done that, especially the breadth of knowledge that you brought into play and actually, especially delving straight into your business straight away. A lot of people do it part-time and then they delve into it slightly. After a while, they've built a bit of momentum, I should say, sorry. But over that time, what's been your biggest challenge for you? And that challenge, how has that sort of changed into an achievement for you? How has that progressed forward?
That's probably very, very importantly in terms of talking about my own journey from a personal and business perspective. I would say the biggest challenge, and there have been challenges, has been transforming the fortunes of hospitality clients, which has seen mixed results. I've worked with many other sectors which have seen growth, seen success, but you also learn from your failures too. And I would say, if we highlight the success one first, starting out an Italian street food kitchen from start. That was my first major project that came to me. And obviously I was coming with fresh ideas, very excited. I wanted to do something to help this business owner who was a very good friend of my wife and obviously had been known through family circles, but he never knew me very much, didn't really know me that well, but I did some personal training with him and he transformed my own physique and my own mindset after 6 weeks of working with him. So I felt I wanted to give something back to him and do something that would help him achieve his ambitions. We managed to do that successfully in August 2019. And that then became a deli in terms of another franchise which he opened next door in his own name as Soto to complement the Piatto offering. So they're now kind of working very well side by side on the south side in Shawlands. But the one that I found the biggest challenge that I was not able to transform their fortunes at all, in all honesty, was a business owner that was recommended to me through my associations on the south side of Glasgow. And they wanted to convert their fish and chip shop to a gourmet restaurant. And while the gourmet restaurant was an amazing offering, it was in a great location. It had a lot of things going for it, in terms of the potential. It didn't realize the potential. A lot of factors were the staff costs and debts, which were unfortunately not be able to manage in a way which we were able to convert to profit. As much as we tried different things, they were just rising, difficulties with obviously HMRC and other creditors, etc., which were mitigating circumstances that they couldn't just write off and just get rid of. They were lingering around. So we came up with a plan that said, okay, let me suggest, if you are not able to do anything where I can save you money in your company to try and get you into a profit situation back again in the next 3 years, then let's look at an exit plan of maybe selling your company and paying off your debts and maybe starting again fresh. If this project has not gone to plan, despite our heads being put together, working strategically on what we could do to improve the financial health and the development of the company, if it's not working, then why continue to hemorrhage our finances by putting money into something that's not converting into results through lack of bookings, through rising costs, increased debts? It's just not working. So Lee, we decided exit strategy, sell the company, get a buyer, pay off your debts, and start afresh, work on a new project. So that would be what we see my biggest challenge. That then helped me learn very fast about how certain things can go well with certain people, but also things can also backfire and not go so well. And that's not due to a lack of trust and faith in my ability or their ability. Generally speaking, a lot of the time, we see a lot of success and we see things come to fruition, but you have to learn from the ones that don't go well and see why it didn't go well so they can improve in future and I can improve in future. And I think that boded well for the tech client that I work with. And that was probably my biggest achievement, Lee, to date, in the sense that I was actually partnering with Scottish Enterprise. And Scottish Enterprise actually as a strategic partner to secure 6-figure grant funding for a major tech client that I had spent months on financial and business planning, working behind the scenes on the back of a convenience store where they were originally based. And we were working on a plan to expand the business, increase the capital investment, and most importantly, be able to work from a bigger premises because the facilities were not there, to be able to showcase what they could deliver in terms of their EPOS offerings. So for me, being able to make a difference and see the results transpire was my biggest achievement. And I've been very lucky enough to be able to continue my work on other projects with this client through the other companies that they're involved with. And I think, Lee, you will remember coming to my office, which happens to be located in the building where my clients are based, from the back of a convenience store to the second floor of Excel House in Eurocentral, where you had the opportunity to come and meet me for the first time in that location. So it's a great place to work and it's a great bunch of people, and you don't always have the luck and good fortune of working with quality people in different industries. They happen to be a good company that came around at the right time as I was trying to establish my business.
It's a good point to have, and I think what you just mentioned there as well is drawing a line. So sometimes things don't work the way you want it to work. It's not a negative side of it. You've got to try things, but also trying it, adapting to it, putting a line underneath it and going, okay, we've learned from that. Let's move forward from it. Let's adapt to it. Let's make it an achievement. But sometimes it takes a few tries to get the right thing and get it in the right direction as well. And I think that's what we all learn from. Thanks for sharing that, Razvan. We've spoke a lot about adapting to our businesses. Now, you're quite an individual that is an in-person contact, that especially in your industry of finance and business development, that is usually a face-to-face type of environment that you thrive in. How have you adapted your business? Do you still use the online versus in-person quite regularly? Have you got a good balance between online and in-person? How does that work for you, and how have you adapted since
I would say I've focused a lot more on the in-person. People have been working remotely where I can't access them in person, say within the Central Belt or in the East Coast, or say in the West Coast of Scotland, which is easy for me to navigate, travel, visit for both business and networking. That's okay. But where I've built relationships with people down south that I've had the opportunity to meet at conferences, both online and in person, to attend training courses, to work on strategies which have been of a common interest whether it be in property or whether it be in other related businesses that I've been passionate about. For me, navigating that mainly by speaking in person is been my preferred option. But I also appreciate that that's not always the case. And you have to build up relations sometimes by speaking to people through the Zoom platform, through the Microsoft Teams platform, which have been a business. And that's what I've kind of focused on, where people have been working remotely. And from that point of view, I've kind of evolved, Lee, in terms of focusing on other areas where I could improve my offerings. And over the past 18 months, I would say collaboration has been very important. In fact, somebody in my networking circle that I got to know and became a friend over the last couple of years, and you even met at the Ayrshire RBC event, who I'd introduced you to come along and experience your fantastic events that you host and to learn from yourselves what I learned and sort of kind of see that with their own eyes. I worked with them on a project which was very much along the lines of serviced accommodation, which was something that he was passionate about and I was passionate about, but never tried in 25 years of investing. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to delve into it as a first foray. Once I'd done a little bit of due diligence and found out who I was getting into partnership with, is a good project for me? Was it the right location? Was it people that consistent results, even though I know it's seasonal, and obviously I've got to be aware of the trends. So we did that project from March 2023, and that's kind of flourished, and that's been going well behind the scenes. So it was a good, but pleasure with on doing virtually. And I've been working with a lot of people on providing advice to access, startup or business development funding, as well as working on bespoke tax planning strategies or property investment strategies that would help enhance their business. So that for me is how my business has evolved. Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I think the way we live now as well, and I've had multiple conversations with people about online versus in person, and I think we have to, and I say this quite regularly every week, I think we have to embrace both areas. I think there's a place for virtual, there's a place for in person, there's a place for both of them now in our sectors, in our industry. And if you switch off from virtually, I think you're switching off a pipeline of opportunity that you're going to miss out on. Personally, that's my thoughts behind it.
I think you're right. And one of the things I was very excited that you shared with me and other RBC members, I was very lucky to have a one-to-one meeting with you when we sat down at Hags Castle Golf Club. And I know there was things on my to-do list, such as NetHub, which A, I never had a clue about. B, I didn't know what their offering was. I don't know how it worked practically. I could see benefits it provides to all the RBC members and people who are already using that, outside RBC. And I can see the advantage that you're providing in terms of giving members other facilities and platforms to be able to expose their business and to talk about what they can do that can hopefully build more connections and reach out to people that I never knew existed out in across the UK, that I could potentially speak to, and hopefully maybe make some difference in the future. And once they get to know me, and it's great that you through YouTube, through NetHub, through areas which provide exposure to RBC, and obviously, Lee, the wonderful work you do, but also gives the members a platform to be able to do something which says, use it, the tools are there, it's up to you to go and make it work. And I'm very glad, Lee, that this has been a progression that you're sharing with other people within the community.
I think one of the things you touched on there is you've got to make sure you've got the tools available. I think there's so many tools for people to use out there now. I mean, I've looked at many things today virtually for tools. Some of them will work, some of them may not be the place for it, but there's a lot of them out there that will facilitate for what you're looking for your business. And one of them, I mean, you've touched upon that, Stu. We've actually got Julie Taylor, who joined us on LinkedIn there as well.
Thanks on the right-hand side of my screen. Well done, Julie.
So I'm just going to drop in one of the tools that we use, and it's one that you asked for me to share today. So if you are watching this on YouTube and listening to it or watching it on LinkedIn as well, LinkedIn, it might not put the message in there, but I will put it in afterwards. But on YouTube, if you subscribe to the channel, you can rewatch this video again with many others. But just in the chat area, I've just dropped in there Razvan's actual digital business card. So when you click onto it, you can engage with Razvan, you can connect with them, you can go onto his social media. That's a digital tool for us to use. And that's one of the big benefits of having these digital toolboxes available for you to use as part of a member and many other things as well. So yeah, Judy's put on there, you can't beat virtual, but good morning from Iowa. So
He's
thanks for running that.
He's making us remember again. That's 2 days in a row.
Brilliant. So we've moved on from adapting your business, Razvan. We've talked about where you start off from and everything else. We're now going to delve into top tips. And usually this is from either your sector or it's about business in general. And I think what you've shared on there is really about business development, about collaborations. Would you mind sharing with everybody your top 3 golden tips from your industry, your sector, or for business in general? Would you mind sharing that with everybody?
More than happy to do so.
Thank you.
The first thing I would say, which has been part of my learning curve, is don't be afraid to come out of your comfort zone and try new challenges that enhance your business. That's my first tip. My second tip would be to work on building collaborations that generate new opportunities. And my third tip is to avoid complacency by learning from other people in the industry to develop your offerings.
And it's interesting when you say about the comfort zone. So the question I'm going to give to you right now, right? When you say that there, don't be afraid of stepping out your comfort zone. What's your comfort zone, Razvan? What do you feel uncomfortable stepping out of? Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, certainly. I would say probably my comfort zone is resting on my successes and thinking, well, you know what? I'm doing a very good job here. This is great. I'm being appreciated. I'm getting recognition. Clients are offering me more business, and thinking I've cracked it. And I think I've done very well, and I'm providing great financial service. I'm providing great business development support, and I'm managing people's financial the health in a way whereby they're benefiting from my experience. You can never say you've cracked it. You can never say you stop learning. And what I've realized is through actually getting mentoring support, through meeting people in my networking circle, through attending different networking events, meeting a whole variety of people from different industries, that's kind of opened my eyes to realize that there's always something you could tweak or maybe even tinker that can help people a little step further. And if you don't know about it already, and it's not something you can directly offer, then use people who are a great addition to my network. And I've learned very quickly that if you don't use your network effectively, then sometimes there's things that you can deliver, which people will appreciate in your business. And if you didn't make that introduction through the power of my network, then I would never be able to deliver that result by myself. And that's where the power of collaboration and working with others, not just doing something as a solopreneur because I think I know it all. I certainly don't know everything. There's people who can add some value to my business and I add value to theirs by coming along and saying, you know what, work with me as a strategic partner, whether it's in property, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in sales, whether it's in HR, and it's a vital difference to what my clients need. That's what they're demanding from me. They've approached me for help. I can't give them all the answers, but here's somebody who will provide the solution because he or she is a great part of my network. And I will hand you over and give you the support that you need. Work together and let's see if that gives you the result you want. That's where being out of your comfort zone is importantly because you don't have all the answers and you have to be prepared to look at your wider offering with the help of more people within your network.
That's such a good point there as well. We talk about this quite a lot, is that a lot of people try and do it on their own. And they keep going on their own and don't ask for their help or don't look at people within their industry. They think it's like, it's in my industry. I can't do collaborations. I can't look at strategic partners. But you can, because it opens up and you put that third point there, it develops your offerings that you have available. But also you don't have, let's be honest with this, you don't have all of the answers all the time. So what you just touched upon then, I'm a big fan of this, right? Is that there's people in your sectors and industries that are willing to share best practice, best advice, best information. Keep asking the questions in those industries and look for those strategic partners. And that's something that you do quite regularly, correct?
I always try to educate people and reach out to try and find people in the audience that maybe didn't know or hear about my offerings or my track record. And also people who are in my network that could be of value to them, which maybe provide a service that I don't directly provide. But if I don't tell people what those are and give people an example of those case studies, or how I can help them in the world of finance or help them in the world of business, and things that maybe they should maybe think about and say, Raz mentioned that in his post the other week. That's brilliant. I'm going to keep a note of that, but I'll know where it came from. And if I ever need to reach out, then I'll send a LinkedIn request. I'll ask for that one-to-one. I'll reach out and see if you can help. I'm not promising that I can guarantee that I'll be able to deliver an answer every single time. But what I will do is make sure I follow up on your request. I will see if there is a solution I or somebody I know can provide the answer to. And I hope I can deliver the outcome, which obviously they're looking for. And I would do my very best to ensure they get the best result.
No, definitely, without a doubt. And it's actually a great quote that Julie's just put in there as well. And if you go into the chat area and have a look into it, we're just going to share. It's always nice we get a bit of engagement with this as well with me and my guests. But Julie's put on there, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Do you know what I mean? It's all about the teamwork and the strategy that you have around that, and it's having that collective resource around you that can actually push it the next area. So, Julie, thanks again for jumping in and being engaging in the chat on there on LinkedIn as well, and you can see all that on there. Thanks, Razvan. Those are really good pointers that you've put in there as well. And again, keep an eye out, everybody, because on LinkedIn I'll add in all of the comments that sort of Razvan's put in today as well in there separately. We talk about a lot of business. We talk about our journey, right? But one of the big things for me is that we're starting to look at more personal time for ourselves, but also looking at how we can develop ourselves. It's great having business development, but it's also about personal development.
Yes.
And one of the questions I've got for you is, what are your personal development structure? And do you take time out for yourself to read books, to look at training? How do you do that, Razvan? I mean, do you fit that into your schedule? Because you're such a busy fella.
Work-life balance is very important to me, Lee. And I look at being busy in more than just a business sense. I also look at being busy in terms of giving quality time to my 12-year-old son. And that for me is very important in terms of the number of hours I work a week, but also in terms of what I give back. Because I never had the privilege or the opportunity to be in clubs or to aspire to be the best I could be at a personal level in terms of fitness, activities, and the things I missed out on. I'm now making sure my son doesn't miss out. So you are so rightly, business development goes hand in hand with personal development. The way I've done that since I decided to launch my own business and go my own way was to focus on attending masterclasses. I did that for my property-related work, but I also used a mentor for 1 year to help with my entrepreneurial mindset. And I also listened to podcasts. I've never been the best at reading books. I'm still finishing off books, Lee, that have been given to me by my work colleagues that I never get to finish, even though I've started them years later. I'm not embarrassed to say that, but it's actually a fact. So to compensate for lack of reading of books, and Lee, you made some great recommendations from Jim Rohn, and I know if I started, I'll probably never finish. So I've resorted to podcasts like the High Performance podcast that I alluded to in my last member spotlight. Yeah. And the reason why I found that the most appealing to me in terms of my own kind of well-being was that I could relate to a lot of their personal journeys and the adversities that they have suffered along the way. That I found inspiring, and that has found really helped me refocus and re-energize my kind of mindset when I'm running my business. For example, I've touched upon the Tom Grennan one, who's a world famous music artist. And he talked about how he flipped adversity into energy. Yeah. And I listened to that for an hour when my son was playing football. And I was in awe of some of the things that he said and the things that he overcame as challenges to be able to do the things which everybody told him you cannot do. It's impossible. You cannot change your career path from what was once a football career and then having to retire and then give up his passion to do something which was the opposite of something that you would never have contemplated doing. And then having the ability to do so through practice, through listening to his mentors, and getting obviously help along the way. And I realized that that is important in life and in business. And there's no reason why you can learn from successful or aspiring sportsmen or other artists or people who are high performers in the industry and use some of that through the interviews that I've heard in the podcast and apply that to my kind of daily life and what I do for a living. So that has been a great source. But also, last but not leastly, and you're probably thinking, why have I been giving compliment after compliment every? Not for brownie points, but it's only because I'm stating the truth. Think also your network and development side have also been vital in helping me focus on how I use networking as a powerful tool, that in which without you and people who are experts in the field of networking, if I did not have that knowledge to tap into and that sort of regular sort of input in my business, because I am sort of part of when I attend every month, if I didn't have that, then there would probably be a lot of things I wouldn't be able to do today. And I think that comes down to a lot of the things that I've learned and appreciated, so far to date, and adopted in my kind of business. Whole variety of they've been in helping me to date, and I still try to learn and listen from the best, and I obviously will continue to do so.
Thanks, Razvan. I mean, I appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate it as always, and I think it's, what you have done with many people that we work with, and especially within the RBC, is that we look at the commitment, the consistency, evolving, embracing, and just implementing what they pick up and using it to their full potential. I'm on a campaign to really get people to look at networking more strategically as a marketing structure to their business. But at the end of the day, we're having conversations in testament to yourself. You embrace that. You try to evolve from that, and you try to keep those conversations flowing. You're always an open book, a sponge to take things on board, and look at ways you can have that accountability put in there. So thank you for sharing that.
That's a very good point you mentioned, accountability, because I don't get that when somebody can't take my place in doing the things that I provide for my clients. And somebody can't just walk in and take it on my behalf. My wife's an optometrist. If I had to take a long rest, go away from my business, then I knew that obviously I've got a professional wife who can go and do things that she needs to do. But the bottom line is, there's nobody who can teach what I know, and it's not to be expected. But what I can do is learn from my peers and learn from people who are great at their areas of expertise that can add something which is very important in terms of having the confidence to go about my business, but also have the mindset to know that on your good days and your bad days, there's always people you could reach out to you for help.
Good points. Again, great points. And it's how you've embraced it and all that as well. And it's the other people that we're getting from that with personal development. Thank you for sharing that, Razvan. Really do. And I've just popped it in there in the chat feed once again. Is the podcast recommendation from Razvan was High Performance Podcast. Check that out if you can do as well. So I've just dropped that into the YouTube, into the chat area and YouTube channel there for us. So we've talked about a lot this afternoon. And the last part of really today is, what's the next steps for you and your business? What's around the corner for Razvan? And is that in the next sort of 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Would you mind sharing that with people?
I would say probably my aspirations are always to be able to work at a level where I don't feel I'm overstretched, I'm under pressure, I'm working under a high intensity. It's always been to be able to have some kind of ability to service people in the background when they need my help. And one of the ways I've kind of looked at my business and sort of reflected on the journey so far is that never take anything for granted, appreciate all the good things that happened along the way, learn from the things which have been a tough journey along the way, personally and professionally, but don't be afraid to tinker with certain things. And I alluded to in a conversation we had, Lee, in our last one-to-one about working on a new marketing strategy to complement what I already have in place. And that's something that I've been working behind the scenes for the last 6 months, and sort of in a way which enhances my offering, but works in areas where I've not been able to provide any support because I've not had any inquiries for people to want that support from me, and to find ways in which I could reach out to that target audience to say, hi folks, that support is available to you. So if you're in this field of industry and you work in these areas, then come and reach out to me and see what I can do to offer you support if you'd like to have a conversation. And I'm implementing that now. I'm kind of saying, watch this space, because I'm always of the opinion, don't speak too soon and don't get too ahead of yourself. Let's watch this space, see what results this delivers, and then I'll be able to share that through another spotlight, through another one-to-one, through a conversation I share with people, reflect on what's happened in the next 12 months when I look back and talk about what's been achieved on the horizon. But I'm never, ever one to get ahead of myself. But what I like to do is to plan ahead and try and plant the seeds of what I'm looking to implement and see if that actually delivers anything, provides me a return. And if it does well, I'm going to be very happy to share that has kind of worked for me. Why did I think it was a good thing to implement? Even though there may be a little bit of risk. But the good thing is, if I'm not going to try something new, then I'm not learning from the sessions, like your network and development sessions. I'm not picking things up to sort of adapt and try new things. You've got to sometimes be to try out new things, see if that works. And that means making a financial investment, seeing what that does, the people who are going to deliver it for you, and then seeing what that provides in return. And if it does, all well and good. If it doesn't change what I'm doing already, and it doesn't change what people are already hearing and know that I provide in terms of my kind of day-to-day service. So from that point of view, I enjoy the consulting role, and I enjoy helping people get the funding and getting the business development, the financial management support they need, or new strategies that they need to enhance their business. That's very important as well, because some people get stuck in their do. There's ways which don't always involve lots of money, but there are ways in which you can find out how they could actually enhance their own personal financial position, and potentially give themselves opportunity for wealth creation. But it all comes down to just listening to the offerings and seeing if it's right for you or not.
Brilliant. Razvan, thanks for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And one of the last things I always like to my guests, just to wrap this sort of interview off this afternoon, especially for this week, and we talk about sort of introductions, but who would make a great business introduction to you? If people are listening to this today on YouTube and on LinkedIn, who are you looking for, and who would make a fantastic business intro for yourself?
I always say this in my door of opportunity, so it kind of sounds like I'm, kind of on the repeat mode, but I make no apologies, because that's something I always like to say generically. And for me, I would say aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious business individuals who are looking for support with regard to startup or business development funding, or even are looking at support with their business and financial planning, so they've got the right strategy to be able to achieve their goals. That for me is probably the key people, or target audience, as I would call it, that I'm trying to reach out to. Because I've seen many people, Lee, that take advantage of some advice, but maybe they sit on the fence, they don't have courage of their convictions, they promise that they're going to follow up, they're afraid to do so. Something is holding them back, one little step. And all it's a chat, a general sort of a one-to-one conversation, just to talk about where they're at, what they're trying to achieve, are we going to look to get from A to B, and finding if there's something there is an opportunity to work together and what we can do to deliver the best results. It takes just one conversation.
Brilliant. I love that. And I've just dropped that into the chat box again. I've just put Razvan's business intro request as aspiring business entrepreneurs and business professionals looking to scale their business to the next level. If you know somebody listening to this, please reach out. As I said, in the chat area, you'll find Razvan's digital business card. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Is that the best way to do that, Razvan? By your website as well, which is swordfinance.com?
I would say probably my digital business card would be the best way to do so, because that gives homes in terms of my various niches that I'm involved with. So digital business card point, finance propositions they're looking for, then I would ask them to go directly to me.
Perfect. Love it. Thanks so much. And I'll put all that information in the chat area there for us as well. It just comes from me now, just to really wrap up this weekly Live at 5 on LinkedIn Live and YouTube, of course, on the two little platforms, and say a massive thank you. Razvan, thank you so much for joining me this week. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear about your business journey, learning a little bit more of an insight, and really sharing some top tips in there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Lee, and very happy to award anything for the prize as well, which obviously would be more welcome, most welcome if they wish to follow up to give them an opportunity to speak to me, if they wish to do so. But talking to you has been an absolute pleasure, Lee, as always. And thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome, Razvan. You're welcome. There's a special offer as well, just to add this at the last part of it. So Razvan is offering a 1 hour free consultation into their business by sending him an email to info@swordfinance.com. And all you have to do in the mention in the subject line is 1 hour deep dive. That's all you have to mention in that subject bar as well. And you'll find that in the chat area as well. So please reach out to Razvan to take care of that. Take offer of that special offer. Take advantage of the special offer I should put in there as well. Please join us next week. I'll be welcoming along live at 5 on LinkedIn Live, the one and only Mr. Dean Phillips, and he's from Macintosh LFS. So we're talking about vitality and much, much more about protecting you and your future assets and investments for the many years to come as well. So we'll have Dean Phillips, a fellow RBC member and well-connected business entrepreneur as well, joining us next week at live at 5. It just comes from me now, from me to say, from Razvan and myself, is thank you so much to everybody who's been watching and listening to us this afternoon. Please stay in touch, keep connecting with one another, keep the conversations flowing, and we look forward, myself, Razvan, and many others, welcome you next week to our next interview session. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all very, very soon. See ya.